So it's been a while since I actually recorded my own voice for videos, and on top of doing that, I'm also trying something a little bit different with this edit. I got the idea while progging through P12S and thought it'd be fun to reach out to Hector and make something based off of one of his guides. So definitely huge thanks to him for giving me the go-ahead on this and for all the time he puts into making those guides. I definitely didn't write this down on a notepad because I kept on messing up the recording over and over again. Enjoy!
Warning! Hi guys, and welcome to a Hector lecture guide to the fight P12S Phase 1. This is Athena. Clock spots, partners, lazy lasers. Here, the tanks are going to be positioned on the same side as the ads, just sort of at the edge of the hitbox. They pop invuln before the first laser goes off, and then all we do is avoid Trinity of Souls. The tanks will take all of the lasers, but because they're invuln, they're perfectly fine. The next mechanic is Paradigma 2. For this one, you're going to get 4 ads that are always going to spawn at the cardinals. We're going to get dark and light tethers, and we're going to get dark and light tower debuffs. How we resolve this is quite simple. All you need to do is stretch your tethers out. Max melee directly opposite your ad will usually do it just fine. However you do it, it should look something like this when you're in the right spots, with 1 player per intercardinal, and they're next to a tethered player with the opposite element. The tethers go off, the towers drop, and now tethered players are just going to wiggle into their towers. Right about now is where you want to look north, because about 2 seconds after the towers resolve, the north ads are going to shoot lasers, cleaving essentially 2 giant lanes of the arena. Just make sure that you avoid where they are, and the lasers will go off and you're fine. There's an On the Soul raid wide, and then we get our Tank Buster. Next up is Super Chain Theory 1. After the flash, look at your first 2, in this case it's an in and spread, and immediately get yourself into those positions. The boss will start to cast Engravement of Souls, and when Engravement of Souls finishes casting, we get a bunch of the light and dark debuffs appearing. Afterwards, we're going to start dodging towards the safe spot, the donut. Light left, red right, lasers opposite. Wait until the second part of the in-out or out-in goes off, and then start to move. Afterwards now, the DPS or whoever has the spreads can spread, and the laser players go in to soak their towers. When all's done, you just get a Trinity of Souls that's either top to bottom or bottom to top. Apodialogos, Peridialogos, On the Soul raid wide, and then the boss is going to cast Paradigma 3. This is always going to spawn 4 ads east and west in the exact same positions. The boss will start to cast Engravement of Souls, and you want to lightly spread out. DPS just want to be spread so they can see what tether they're about to get, and tanks and healers don't have to be spread, but sometimes it helps to conga line to help you to figure out your priority in a second. Because when Engravement of Souls finishes, all of the supports are going to get debuffs. 1 player is going to get a plus, 1 player is going to get an X, and the other 2 players are going to get towers of the same element, either both light or both dark. The DPS are always all going to get tethered. 2 of them light, 2 of them dark, and light and dark tethers are always going to come from the same side. We're also going to get the boss casting Unnatural Enchainment and destroying 4 of the platforms in a zigzag pattern. And we get towers on the 4 safe platforms. It's a lot to deal with, but there's a simple procedure to how to figure out where to go. With all that done, the boss is going to cast On the Soul, and make sure that you move towards middle because you're probably going to be low on health. Your healers need to be able to top you up. We get another tank buster, including the swaps. And then the boss is going to turn around, spawn some adds in, and start to glow. Mitigate what's about to be a very hard-hitting raid wide before the stage transitions for our next major mechanic. Start to spread out. The ads will disappear, the boss will eventually disappear, and reappear untargetable on one of the points of this octagon we're in. It's a limit cut. 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 Everybody gets the numbers 1 through 8. Let me break this down. First off, it's a limit cut. This is a standard limit cut. The boss is going to dash from player 1 to player 2 to player 3 to player 4 and so on. These are proximity-based dashes, so you need to be as far away as possible, and when you are hit by a dash, you're going to leave a puddle centered on the player who was jumped on. Be aware, it's a limit cut. You're going to take too much damage and die. When you've finished, have everybody in the group adjust either towards all north or all south, and then once the platform returns to normal, get to the edge because the boss will destroy all 4 of the middle platforms. The boss will then start to cast Theos' Ultima. This is both an incredibly hard-hitting raid-wide and, because it splits the damage amongst all the alive players, a bit of a body check, because if too many players are dead, the damage will likely be lethal. Next up, the boss is going to immediately jump into another major mechanic, Super Chain Theory 2A. When this finishes casting, you're going to see a ton of different chains appear. It initially looks quite complicated, so let's try to break it down to make it more understandable. Look at the rest of the Trinity of Souls, and remember when your dodges is. Let me replay this and show you what it would look like with a slightly different set of mechanics. Afterwards, you get a random Apodialogos. Peridialogos. And you get an On the Soul raid wide. Next up is Super Chain Theory 2B. This initially starts looking simple, but will get more complicated each time. It starts off with just a north and south cluster, one's an in, one's an out, the safe spot is the in. The boss will cast Paradema, and we get our second cluster. One will be an out, and one will be either pairs or spread. We will dodge to the side with the pairs or spread, in this case, the west side. The third set will also appear shortly afterwards. This is going to be north and south. One of them is just an out. The other one is an out and a spread. We want to find that red chain, the spread. That's the way we're going to go towards. So in this case, we're dodging to south at the end. The red crystals will go off to show adds, but we can worry about them when we need to. First, the in-out. Make sure you're not too near to middle so you don't get clipped by the out. The boss will cast Parthenos, which is just a line AoE through the middle of their hitbox. We dodge to the side where there was the pair or the spread. Now we need to deal with those lasers from the adds in the north. Note that the safe spot for them is much smaller than the first time that we dealt with this, so make sure you're positioned nowhere near to an add. As soon as the add lasers go off, we deal with the out and the spread at the same time. With all that done, the boss will have been casting Unnatural Enchainment, and there's only going to be a single tile safe. It should be near to where you finished off. Adjust onto that tile before the other platforms get destroyed, and stay there to deal with the final bits of the fight. There's an On the Soul raid wide that will restore the platform back, though it doesn't really matter because all that's left is another On the Soul raid wide, 2 autos, and then if the boss isn't at 0%, the boss will become untargetable and cast the Enrage. If you manage to get the boss down below 0% in time, welcome to Phase 2, and good luck with that.